Doing? It's almost the weekend, y'all. I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited. Can't wait to talk to you about my selection for this week. This week I'm doing psychological thrillers. Subgenre is, what is it called? Disaster movies and or end of days. I decided to choose that genre because I finally watched the series Paradise on Hulu, starring Sterling K. Brown. And so, to get you in the mood of my review of Paradise, I decided to review two disaster slash end of world day type movies. So, you can either watch these movies before you watch this series, or you can watch it after if you want to kind of stay in that vibe. Before I get started, let me just say that normally I do the movies in order from um least like to best like. This time I'm just going to do the two movies, then I'm going to talk about Paradise. And also, I got comments before that um, I revealed too much of the movie or series. So, again, spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! If you don't want to know too much about the movies that I'm going to review and or talk about this evening, do not watch my video because I plan to talk about it. All right, let's get started. So, let's talk about, what am I talking about first? I'm going to talk about Leave the World Behind. This movie stars Julia Roberts. I can never get this man's name right, but it's Mahershala Ali and Ethan Hawke. Okay? So in this movie, it starts with them living in New York. And when I say them, I'm talking about Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke. They're married, they're a couple. And the husband wakes up and the wife is in like kind of frenzy. She's starting to pack and everything. He's like, "What's going on?" And she was like, "Oh, I hate people and I just want to get away." So I found us a great Airbnb, like in the suburbs, and we're going. And he's like, okay. So they're on their way to drive, to this New York suburb, and they come to this great house. And I mean, this house is fantastic. When I tell you, it's a two-story home. It's almost like a mansion, I want to say. It's modern vibes meet eclectic. They have this great pool outdoors. And it's not like you have houses like right on top of one another. There's like actually property in between houses. What I wanted to say is, I'm all about the soundtrack. What I found interesting about this movie is that they tended to lean towards, I'm going to say, urban soundtracks. So I think you know what I mean by urban soundtracks. Like the movie starts off with this song that I never heard of, called "The Revenge" by Joey Badass. And then while they're like during the car ride, they play "Misled" by Kool and the Gang. And then while Julia Roberts is taking a tour of the home, they play Never Gonna Let You Go by Blackstreet. So that's to give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I say urban music. It makes me wonder why, but I don't know. Maybe that was trying to hint to us. I'll tell you why. Maybe it was a hint. Because the family gets settled in the home, the kids are in the pool, and they're enjoying everything about this home. The wife goes in the city and she buys groceries so that she can cook for the family. It's a whole little nice little vibe. They're like, I'm so glad we got away, kind of thing. Then in the middle of the night, there's a knock at the door. Who's at the door? But Mahershala Ali and his daughter. And so he explains to the couple that um, he went to the symphony with his daughter and it got late and he decided to travel to the suburbs to his suburban home instead of staying in the city because he is a bad meat. She's like, what? Now, the husband is very friendly and amiable and invites them in the home, trying to, understand what it is they need, like in the middle of the night. And the wife, I'm sorry, Julia Roberts is giving off a Karen vibe. And so he explains, hi, you must be so and so. I'm the one that's been communicating you via email. This is my home. And she's like, uh-huh. Yeah. Long story short, they're going back and forth about trying to make her comfortable so that she knows that this is his house and that it doesn't look as suspicious as it sounds. So he eventually takes out his keys and he gets into this armoire where he has things locked away that's apparently not for his Airbnb guests because the husband tried to get in there because he saw there was top shelf liquor. And so he was like, hey, we gonna party. And then Julia read the book and was like, apparently that's not for the guests, so you can't get in. So, this is kind of, I guess, a way to assure them, yeah, this is my house because I got the key to get in. He also goes into this drawer and you see there's a gun and then there's some envelopes and stuff in there. So he takes out an envelope and he says, look, I really want to stay here. I know this is inconvenient. I know, this may seem weird, but I don't have a problem with giving you a refund. And so Julia Roberts still wasn't having it. But when he offered her a refund in cash and it was $1,000, the husband was like, okay, you can stay. And so he said, because her concern was, my kids are upstairs. I can't have you stay here, And he was like, look, there's an in-law suite downstairs. We can stay downstairs. And so they finally agreed to it and they wind up staying there. And then they wake up the next morning and the Mahershala Ali is like he doesn't know what's going on with the internet, the phones aren't working, the TV's not working. And so he was like, well, maybe, I need to reach out to some of the other neighbors because the so and so's live next door. And I could reach out to them. Maybe they have more information about what's going on. Meanwhile, Ethan Hawke says, well, I'm going to go to town and see if I can find out what's going on. And so Julia and the daughter, congregate, if you will, in the kitchen. And so the daughter of Mahershala Ali, she's a smart aleck. Honestly, I mean, she is like your typical, like this new, I'm gonna say my son's generation, what are they, Gen Z, where they're smart at the mouth, and it's like she really does not like this girl. She was starting to warm up to the dad, but every time the girl opens her mouth, she's like, ugh, I can't deal with this little girl and her smart ass mouth. Anyway, in the meantime, oh, I left this part out. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit. There was a scene where before Mahershala Ali and his daughter arrive, the family goes to the beach. When they go to the beach, the little girl, so they have a son and a daughter. The son is like 16, 17. The daughter's like 13. And she's really into Friends for whatever reason. And they go to the beach, and this big oil rigger is heading straight for the beach. And so as time goes on, the boat just keeps heading towards the beach and doesn't appear to be slowing down. It eventually gets to the land and like crashes on the beach. And everybody is like, what the hell is going on? And so the police, evacuate everyone. And nobody really knows what's going on. Nobody's explained anything. But that was their experience before Mahershala and his daughter arrive. So now, fast forward, like I said, it's the next day. Mahershala decides to go to the neighbor's house to find out if they know anything. So he gets over there and he sees all this damage to the home. And he's looking like, what happened here? So he goes in, the door was slightly ajar, and he announces himself, "Hey, it's GH or George. And I came on in because, the door was open. Hello, hello." So he starts, examining the house, looking all over. Eventually makes it to the garage and he finds the family satellite phone and he tries to use it and he cannot use the phone. And so um, he's getting ready to leave the home and head back to his home. And then he sees something on the side of the house. So he decides to walk along the beach. And when he gets to the beach, he sees what looks like a gold watch sticking out of the sand. So he tries to pick it up, and there's a hand attached to it. And there's no body attached to that hand or arm. So he throws it back like, ah! And then he sees, as he looks down the beach, all these dead bodies laying on the beach. And it appears that an airplane crashed and killed all these people. So while he's trying to inspect what's going on, he hears an airplane and then he looks up and he sees one heading right for the same beach. So he takes off and heads inside of the home and closes the door right before the crash. The plane explodes and then it moves to the next scene. So then you have the scene with Ethan Hawke trying to drive to the town to try and find out, buy a newspaper and find out what's going on. And he runs across a Spanish speaking lady. And so, what I think was awkward is that there were no subtitles to explain what she was saying. So, unless you speak Spanish, you don't know what this woman is saying and what exactly is going on. And so, he gets tired of trying to figure out what she's saying and eventually drives off, which I thought was just crazy. And so he just leaves the scene, don't know why or what this woman was saying or trying to get it help for. And while he's driving down the street, then he starts seeing, I thought it was a plane, but they explained that it was a drone. And so this drone is littering paper flyers down the highway. And so he gets one of the paper flyers and heads back to the house. So then Julia Roberts' kids, they at first were swimming, but then the daughter, when she woke up that morning, she saw a bunch of deer that were just in the backyard. And so for whatever reason, this was like very curious to her. So she decided to go in the forest to investigate. So her older brother decided to follow her and they found the shed. So while in this shed, the big brother does, I guess, what big brothers do. I don't know. I grew up as an only child, but he scares her. And she's like, "Why are you doing that? I'm trying to find out what's going on. Why these deer were, congregating in the yard and you're scaring me." And so he apologized and then they head back home. But as they head back home, he gets bitten by a tick. And then all of a sudden there was this big loud like screeching noise. And nobody knows what it is. Nobody explains what it is. And they wound up heading back home. And everybody kind of gets home around the same time. And they were like, "What was that? What was that?" Nobody knows. Nobody knows anything. So then we go into the night, and this is night two. And so by this time, everybody's a little more comfortable and everything. So the children go to bed, but Marshall, what is his name? Mahershala's daughter in this movie. She has weed, offers it to the dad, and they go outside and smoke it. Meanwhile, Julia Roberts and Mahershala are in the kitchen drinking wine, And so she feels comfortable enough to ask him questions and like ask him, where's your wife, this, that, and the third, and da da da. And, oh, at some point he tells her about what happened in the plane crash, whatever, that he experienced because he came back to the house wet. And so he didn't want to explain it in front of his daughter because the story is that his wife was on a plane from Morocco heading home and he couldn't reach her. And so he didn't want to say this in front of his daughter. Now, his daughter isn't necessarily a minor. The impression they give you is that she's a young adult. She may be like 21, 22. She may or may not have finished college. Don't know. Anyway, she's, like I said, a smart ass. And like she keeps calling out Julia Roberts for being a Karen, if you will. And Julia Roberts really did act like a Karen, but by this night two and drinking and everything, she kind of warmed up. And especially once he took her to his private listening room where he had a collection of, I don't know, thousands of records. And I'm talking about the vinyl records. And so they're looking for music, and he was like, "Do you want to listen to some jazz?" And she was like, "No, that's boring. You can't dance to that. I want something you could dance to." So then she's looking in the section, and she was like, "Ooh, I found something I like." And so he was like, "That's my daughter's section from when she used to try and DJ and da da da." Then she pulls out a record or a vinyl by Too Close. And again, here we go with the urban music. So she decides to put on um wait, no, the group's name is Next, and the song is called Too Close. My bad. So she decides to play Too Close, and then they start dancing. And what's so funny is the Mahershala. He looked like me dancing, like hey ho, hey ho, right? So he's, you know, he got some nice moves, like somebody, from our generation, right? And then Julia Roberts looks like a hippie dancer. I can't simulate the moves, but just imagine, like a flower child kind of dancing. And so this relaxes her or whatever enough where she feels comfortable in his presence. Um, Eventually, everybody turns in for the night. Julia Roberts and her family, they all decide to sleep in the bed together because I want to say they may have gotten another noise that went off, and it was like it's not a siren, but it's a loud screeching noise, and so that sound apparently went off again. So they decide, her family decides to also sleep in the same bed. She notices that her son has a fever, and then she and her daughter are talking, and she's talking about why she likes Friends so much. She talks about how she watches or used to watch The West Wing, and her mother's like, "You watch The West Wing?" It's like this girl is crazy as far as like it's funny because she watches all these old or shows that for older people you wouldn't expect a 13-year-old to watch, and so that's kind of funny. Fast forward to the next day, the family wakes up. uh, Before we fast forward, I'm going to tell you about Mahershala and his daughter. And so they're lying in the bed, and the daughter was like, "I just want to know that if something jumps off, you're going to be there for me. You're not going to leave me." And he was like, "I promise I'm going to be you." Because she was like, "I'm going to be there for you." Because she's like, in all likelihood, mom is dead. And I just want to know that that we're all we got kind of thing. And that, you're not going to sacrifice yourself for the white people upstairs kind of thing. And so he was like, "Yeah, I got you, I'm gonna be there for you." So then they wake up, and I'm saying Julia Roberts and her family wake up the next day. She tries to get her son up, and he's like the last one to get out of bed. He eventually gets out the bed, and then he spits up blood. Then when he spits up blood, he likes feeling around in his mouth, and he starts pulling out teeth. And he pulled out like four teeth. And she was like, "Oh, what the fuck? What's going on?" Then Ethan Hawke comes and he's like, "What the fuck?" You know, he's like, I don't know. So they're scared. So they go down to the kitchen and they talk to Mahershala. And Mahershala, and I guess I shouldn't be calling him Mahershala because in the movie his name is George or GH. And so they explain everything with GH. And he suggests that they go to the contractor who helped build his home, which is played by Kevin Bacon. So they go to Kevin Bacon's home, and Kevin Bacon, it was like, get off my porch, and he comes out like with a gun and everything, and he's like, what do you want? And they're like, with everything that's going on, do you know what's going on? He's like, no. But I guess he's like a doomsday enthusiast, and so he was prepared because Julia Roberts actually saw him when she went to the grocery store, and he had like all this canned food and all this water that he purchased at the store. So um, they figured he had to have some kind of medicine or whatever. And so fast forward, they offer him, or Ethan offers him $1,000 for medicine. He's like, no, money's probably not worth anything if the government collapsed. And they're like, it's still money. And they were like, that's all we got. I can't give you nothing else because the internet's down, phones don't work, so on and so forth. And so, like I said, for all practical purposes, they start drawing guns on each other. And when I say they draw guns on each other, I mean Kevin Bacon and Mahershala, or George, the character George, both pull their guns, and Ethan Hawke has to mediate the situation so that cooler heads will prevail. And he gets the medicine for his son. They go back to the home. Meanwhile, the daughter, Julia Roberts' daughter, is missing, and so she and George's daughter are looking for her. And they go to the shed that the kids went to the day before. She's not there, and they finally have a breakthrough because Julia Roberts could not stand this girl. She was like, "You're always a smart ass. You're this, you're that," and she was like, "But you don't care nothing about me. You don't care that my mother may be dead." And that I don't have a mother anymore, and all I have is my dad, and this, that, and da, 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 da. And so it becomes a very emotional and pivotal moment, I would say, in the movie. And basically, they both decide to go look for the daughter some more. They go out, and then these deer surround Mahershala's daughter, or George's daughter, and Julia comes to the rescue and kind of distracts them. She starts acting crazy and like flailing her arms and legs and screaming and stuff. The deer go away, and then they continue to look for her daughter. And so by this time, we find out that the daughter went to another neighbor's house. She rode a bike there. She went to this house that had what's it called? Like a panic room in their basement or whatever, a bunker, and it was stocked with food and water and all kinds of stuff. Oh, like old school computers from the 80s and a DVR. And so she looks at their extensive DVR collection, and you see that there is the collection of Friends. And this is important only because this little girl was obsessed with Friends, and she didn't get to see the last episode of Friends. But they have Friends in their collection. So she starts watching it, and the movie ends. That was my downfall of the movie. I was I liked the direction that the movie was going to. I hate that it ended with her watching Friends. I hate that it ended without any real answers as to what happened, who was doing what, and so on and so forth. So this movie, I gave it a 5.5 to 6. So you can find Leave the World Behind on Netflix if you're interested. Okay, the next movie is Don't Look Up. This movie is an end of days type of movie. But what's funny about it is that it's also a satire. This movie came out in 2021, but I swear to God, this movie mirrors what's going on in our current administration of with our current governmental administration. Meryl Streep is the president. But just picture that is Trump card and Muskrat. And honestly, this movie, oh my God, it was interesting. The first time I watched it, I was really more impressed than watching it the second time, which was for you guys. I wanted to refresh my memory as far as what the movie was about. Long story short, Jennifer Lawrence is in this movie, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, like I said, Meryl Streep, and Kate Blanchett, and some other people as well. And Jennifer Lawrence discovers a comet. So she's a, a, a doctoral student, and I guess it's in astronomy or whatever she does. And so that's what she was doing, is that she was monitoring the sky. She came across this comet. The comet actually is the first time it's being discovered. So the comet is named after her, and it's called Comet Dibiasky or something like that. Leonardo DiCaprio is her teacher at Michigan State. And so they take their discovery to the powers that be, and eventually escalates it to the government. The government, I don't think necessarily believes them and decides to hold off telling the public the information. So mind you, they find a comet that's supposed to basically be a world ender 6 months prior to it coming. The current administration doesn't believe it or doesn't want to use that information to notify the public to get prepared until it benefits them. Then they have this character that's like a Steve Jobs type of person who's involved. Like I said, it's a satirical look at politics and the end of the world. You may or may not like it. Like I said, I liked it more the first time I watched it. So the first time I watched it, I would give it a 7. Watching it now, even though it mirrors current times, I gave it more like a 6. So this again is something that you can watch on Netflix. Don't look up if you want to get into psychological thrillers that are disaster movies / end of days type of movie. Now that brings you to Paradise. Paradise, I want to say, is a 8-episode TV show that follows the secret agent for the current president in this series. And the president gets killed, and it's his job to find out who did it. The twist of this is that in this scenario with this series, the end of days has already taken place. And the government actually did something about it and created a bunker inside of a mountain. And only 25,000 people survived. And he and the president and the other people that are living there are part of the 25,000 who survived. This is their first murder since going underground from the natural disasters that be. Now, I just want to say this series has already been renewed by Hulu for a second season. I have a bad habit sometimes of not liking season 1 of a show, but I'll like season 2. And so that's what I'm going to say about this TV show, Paradise. I was into it in the beginning, but towards the middle, it started losing me. Then towards the end, it caught, wheeled me back in. Like I said, I don't want to downplay Sterling K. Brown because I told you I love him. I love him ever since he played Randall on This Is Us. I've seen him in other things as well, but Randall will forever be my favorite character. And I like him in this series as well. I'm not going to give you that many details for this one because, like I said, this is an 8-part series. So you're going to have to watch it for yourself. But I gave you the critical pieces of it. So watch it, see if you like it. Tell me what you think about this series. Again, all 8 episodes are on Hulu, and it's been already greenlit for season 2. So we can talk about it next season. So that's the end of my movie review, y'all. That's it. If you liked what I had to say, please like, follow, and subscribe. Please leave your comments below. I want to hear your opinions. I want to know if you saw any one of these movies and you disagree with my ratings. Oh, so my rating, by the way, on Paradise is, I'm going to give it a 6. So right now it has a 6, but season 2 might be better. Another reason why I didn't want to downplay Paradise is because, like I said, I have a bad history of not liking season 1 of a series, and I tend to like it more in season 2. So I could like the series more now that it's been greenlit for another season. And it's produced by Sterling K, and I like that too. So I don't want to put down Sterling's, efforts because, like I said, it really had the ingredients to really be something, and it could be just me, being too critical. But I want to hear your opinions, please. Like I said, leave your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Thank you.